Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Future Engineering Applicants presentation and session at the March Virtual Open House. This presentation is for students who are in pre-grade 12, meaning that you haven't applied yet to the Faculty of Engineering here at the University of Waterloo, but may be considering applying in future years. So thank you so much for joining us. If you've got any questions at any point throughout this presentation, feel free to submit questions using the Q&A tab. And if there are any questions we can't get to, you're always welcome to email us at enginfo@uwaterloo.ca. So before I begin, I'd like to take this moment to do a University of Waterloo territorial acknowledgement. So the University of Waterloo acknowledges that much of our work takes place on the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. Our main campus is situated on the Haldimand Tract, the land promised to the Six Nations that includes 6 miles on each side of the Grand River. Our active work on campus towards reconciliation takes place through research, learning, teaching, community building, and is centralized within our incredible Office of Indigenous Relations. Our team here at the recruitment office is always reflecting on ways that we can support and connect and support our Indigenous communities on campus, and something that you can do is learn more about the land that you occupy. So hello everybody, I'm Patricia. I'm the Marketing and Undergraduate Recruitment Specialist here at Waterloo Engineering. It is a pleasure to be hosting this session today. So the first question we have to ask ourselves is, what is engineering? So to keep things simple, engineering is the practical application of science and math to solve problems. If you were to ask any of our students, why do they stumble upon engineering? Well, they're probably going to tell you because they really enjoyed science and math classes in high school. And that's definitely a fair response. But engineering is also about inventing, designing, building, maintaining, improving structures, basically making things much better, improving the way that we communicate, the way we work, travel, we stay healthy, and entertain ourselves. So if you are interested in solving today's biggest problems, have an interest in science, math, then engineering might be the right fit for you. So speaking about Waterloo in particular, which programs are offered? So you're quite lucky. We have a long list of programs here at Waterloo Engineering. They range from various disciplines, if it's focused on sustainability and the planet, or more programming based, or looking at how to make our processes more efficient. There's definitely a program here for you. Here are the long list. So we definitely encourage you to check out our programs on our websites. And just a quick note that our architecture program is actually offered by the School of Architecture, which is located in Cambridge, Ontario. So something unique about each of our programs, as we can't go into that detail today, is that they're all direct entry, meaning that on day one, when you are starting in your specific program, you're not just taking a general first year. You're actually going to be enrolled in discipline-specific courses starting on the first day, so that you can be prepared when you take on your first set of co-op opportunities. And we are quite lucky that our students are put into something called cohorts, meaning that they're able to have smaller class sizes, connect better with their faculties and staff members, and it's pretty much a community that exists within each of our programs as well. So the question that you're also going to be asking yourself at this stage in the recruitment process for you is, how do I go about choosing a program? And as you quickly saw, there are 15 programs here at Waterloo Engineering. So there are definitely many ways we can recommend for you to choose a program, but it is very important to do your research. And here are a couple ways that we want to recommend on how you can go about choosing the right program for you. So you can do our very famous program compatibility quiz. You can watch some of our past webinar recordings on YouTube. You can connect with our student ambassadors. So these are students who are currently in these programs through our NCHATS initiative, and set up a one-to-one meeting with them. Or we can keep it old-fashioned, and you could explore our program web pages on our website to just learn more about what courses are offered, what career opportunities exist, and such. So if you don't already know this, I definitely want to do a highlight about co-op, because co-op is a really big component of the Waterloo Engineering experience here. Our history comes from the establishment of co-op, and our students are very fortunate in the way that they do their studies here. It's engineering done differently. You're not just in school during your entire undergrad experience. Instead, you're going to be on alternating work terms. meaning that by the time you graduate, you can gain up to 2 years of practical, hands-on, full-time work experience. During these experiences, you'll get to learn about yourself, build great soft skills, technical skills. You're going to meet awesome people, learn about things that you want to do in your career versus what you don't. And that's also success on itself. And when it comes to graduating, you're going to have, many experiences to reflect on, many skills you've gained, and you'll definitely have a competitive advantage when you are graduating and looking for full-time opportunities as well. And of course, our co-op opportunities support you financially as well, which is really nice, as undergrad could be an expensive expense, of course. So in engineering in particular, students are expected to complete 5 of the 6 co-op terms in order to graduate. The average earnings in Canada for our engineering students are quite awesome, and they can range anywhere between $8,000 to $21,000 per semester. Students can go anywhere. You don't just need to stay in the Waterloo region. You could do your co-ops on campus in Ontario, but you can also travel across the country and the world as well for any co-op opportunities that excite you. And we're proud to be a top 5 school for Silicon Valley internships. So hopefully, future students, you are interested and excited about where you can go for co-op. And I'm joined today by incredible student ambassador, Sarah, who will get to share a little bit about the co-op experiences that she's had up to date as well. So another question on your mind could be, where do students go after graduation? Well, as you can probably expect, you will be graduating with a Bachelor's of Applied Science or an engineering degree, meaning that you can, of course, become an engineer after you do and work towards your professional engineering designation. But you're not limited to just a job title that has engineering in it. You could be a founder, an entrepreneur, if you're interested in starting your own company, a product manager, a developer. You could be managing and consultant, doing financial work, quality control, research, or you could do untraditional engineering careers as well. So engineering is definitely a broad discipline that allows you to make an impact in various industries, locally as well as internationally. So hopefully you're not just thinking Waterloo Engineering students just do school and are immersed in the programs and then just worry about work and co-op. That, of course, is a big component of the undergrad experience, and it can be demanding, balancing both, of course, the academic experience and then looking forward to your next co-op term. Something that I need to note, because many students get confused by thinking that when students are on co-op, they're also managing, a full-time course, though that's not the case. When you are on co-op, you're on co-op, and then when you're on your academic term, you're on your academic term. So students get to swap vice versa for different experiences, but you're not going to have to worry about balancing working full-time and also taking additional courses. So the joy is that you can look forward to a co-op placement. After your 4 months, you can be excited to come back on campus, and that cycle repeats typically until your final year. So what happens to our students outside of co-op and academic experience? Well, there's also student life and getting involved outside the classroom in initiatives that take place within the faculty if you're looking to build more relationships or learn more or be part of the engineering community. Or you're also not limited to just engineering-based initiatives. You can also get involved in clubs and teams just within the scope of campus. There's over 200 clubs, again, ranging from athletic opportunities, musical-based groups. You can unleash your creative spirits, or you can be involved in design teams. And that's really important for our engineering students if they're looking to, specialize in a certain area, or they want to work on a very fun project, if it's a car team, rocketry, building a concrete toboggan, whatever the case is. There are so many clubs. There are design teams for students to get involved in. This is not mandatory, though. That's not something that students have to do in their undergrad, but it really does make a difference by being involved. You get to meet new people, get to know students from different programs, maybe different faculties, learn more about yourself. Or some cool opportunities can come from it, conferences, international competitions, and such as well. So hopefully you can squeeze in some time as well to get involved in any type of club that excites your soul. So beyond all this exciting entrepreneurship opportunities, student life involvement, taking 6 co-op terms, being passionate about the program that you're studying, something that we do want everybody to also be thinking about at this point are admissions and the application process ahead of time, just so that when the time does come around for you to apply, you feel a little bit more comfortable just in terms of what is expected, what are the requirements, what you need to focus on. So in terms of how to apply, this is pretty standard across any Ontario university that you'll be applying to. It will be through the Ontario University Application Centre. And you're actually only going to be applying to one program. This is a Waterloo Engineering program, could be chemical, management, nanotechnology. So that's why we do encourage people to do their research ahead of time, as you have to make this important choice. However, there is something called the admissions information form, which is where you can also add an alternative program choice that might be of interest as well. However, if somebody's interested in both Waterloo Engineering, such as mechanical engineering, but is also interested in the School of Architecture, they can apply to both of those programs through OUAC in that situation. So OUAC will be an acronym that will become very familiar for you all. So you can look forward to applying through that portal when the time comes around. Some other important reminders. So we have something called an admissions information form, and we also have an online video interview. So the AIF, short form for admissions information form, is required for admission. You could have the top grades, everything could be wonderful, but if you don't submit the AIF, you will not be eligible for admissions, whereas our online video interview is not mandatory, but of course, highly recommended. We're not stressing about how students rank us on OUAC. All of our applicants are considered and treated the same. And in terms of when our offers go out, typically in 2 rounds. The first round is at the end of March, and the final round tends to be around the middle of May. So of course, depending on what grade you're in case admission decisions or information does change, we always encourage you to refer to our official websites at the time that you're applying to learn more about the admissions cycle and information when you are applying. Some courses to start thinking about. So we do focus on grade 12 marks. Traditionally, this is pretty common across other schools you'd be applying to, but we've got advanced functions, calculus, so 2 of those math courses, chemistry and physics in the science department. We've got English, and then a bonus mark that adds to your total package of 6 marks that we are focusing on. And if we don't have your available grade 12 marks at the time of decisions, we may use grade 11 marks in that in place of any of those missing marks. Something to keep in mind as well for those who might be interested in our software engineering program is that this is our only program that actually does require a program experience. It is part of the application process, but it is encouraged for any of our other programs as well, as that will be something you will be taking on in your first year. So the admissions information form is not as scary as it sounds, but it's definitely a personal profile. We want to know what you've done outside the classroom. So not just your great marks in math and science, we want to know what are your inspirations for being an engineer, what are your achievements, what have you spend your free time doing, what are your hobbies, what are your interests. All that stuff is where you can highlight this on the admissions information form. And again, it is mandatory. You can't start working on it today, but just good to keep in mind for the future. And why do we do things like this, the AIF, the video interview? Well, you're going to be applying to many co-op opportunities throughout your undergrad. So yes, the technical knowledge, the strong math and science skills are very, very important, and marks do take up an important component of the admissions process. But we also want to make sure that our students are well-rounded, they have interests within engineering, outside of engineering, they've got soft skills, strong communication skills. This will all add to the processes and the experiences you'll have once you are a student here at Waterloo Engineering. So there's the AIF. The online video interview is not mandatory, but definitely recommended. Also not as scary as it may sound, but you're basically just recording your responses to 2 questions virtually. So you'd be just sitting at home and responding to 2 different questions for us to get to learn a little bit more about you. Scholarships is, of course, another hot topic in mind when it comes to the application process. Well, there's a lot of scholarships you'll be considered for just based on your marks. There's also scholarships that you can apply to, and they can range anywhere between $1,000 and $15,000. Again, your marks play a factor, but for the ones that have additional supplementary applications, we might look at other things as well, such as your performance on the admissions information form. So to conclude here, I know we can talk for hours about all the good things that come out of Waterloo Engineering. Hopefully you were able to get a good sense of how our program is structured, our values with co-op and hands-on experiential learning, and the community that students can build either through their own programs, through our cohort system, or by getting involved outside the classroom as well through clubs, or participating in various events and initiatives. So how do you truly learn more about Waterloo Engineering? Well, one simple thing you can do today is to connect with us on social media. There's many different platforms for you to connect with us on. If you're ambitious and are on all these platforms, feel free to follow us on each of them. But this is a great way to learn more about our community, what our students are up to, what are our successful alumni doing. They're building great companies and coming back, and hiring our own students for their own co-op positions as well. So there's lots of things to look forward to. Hopefully this presentation was super helpful, but we're going to dedicate any of our remaining time together by including one of our student ambassadors, Sarah, who's going to be joining me on the virtual stage today to share a bit more about her experiences. But just final note here before we dive deep is that if you do have any questions, because you're probably getting those thoughts thinking, connect with our student ambassadors through NChats, or send us an email at enginfo@uwaterloo.ca. It's never too early to connect with us and start learning about the admissions process, our programs, or anything else that we've got going on here in the faculty. Thank you so much. So Sarah, if you can join me on the virtual stage, we'll get you to introduce yourself and we'll get into our Q&A. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, so my name is Sarah Behnam. I'm a 2B nanotechnology engineering student, and I'm currently on my co-op term as an optical algorithms and analytics engineer at University of at Lumentum. That's it. I'm an engineering ambassador as well, and I'm happy to be here.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm going to have to bug you to learn more about the current co-op role that you're on. That sounds super neat. And yes, we're super thankful you're with us today. So I'm going to stop sharing my presentation now just so that we can focus on our Q&A portion of the event. So Sarah, thank you again for joining us. My first question for you is, what made you choose Waterloo Engineering?
So a large part of why I chose Waterloo Engineering was because of the co-op. I've heard great things from all the previous students, from my community, people that I used to know, and I realized I want to gain relevant experience before going out into the workforce. And what better way to do this than going into engineering in general, specifically Waterloo Engineering, since this is what it's known for. Another reason why I wanted to join is because of the challenge. I wanted that motivation to make me reach my full potential. And I knew that with the Waterloo community and the experiences I can gain here, it will challenge me to do better. So that's yeah.
That's amazing. The fact that you're talking about co-op and that was the driving force, but also the challenge, that motivation that you get from your peers, from your faculty members, and for the fact that you get to try and sample so many different co-ops throughout your undergrad. That's fantastic. Great reasons to have chosen Waterloo Engineering. The next question for you, Sarah, is what were the key factors you took into consideration when choosing your program? So you are in nanotechnology engineering, which is quite a unique and special program that's offered here at Waterloo. So how did you stumble upon nanotechnology engineering?
So, fun fact, by grade 11, I did not know what I wanted to be. I had no clue. So this is how I kind of looked at it. Okay, what courses do I like? I knew I loved chemistry and physics, but I also really liked the molecular biology aspect of biology. So I thought, okay, this might be an interesting path to look forward to. It was during one of those university, sorry, I don't really know what it's called, but it was one of those events where we get to introduce those. I stumbled across Waterloo, and when I was talking to whoever the person that was there, the recruiter, she mentioned how there was nanotechnology engineering and that you might be interested in that. So I thought, okay, I can go into engineering. That's something I can do. I knew that I could also go into sciences, But I realized with engineering, if I wanted in the future to change my mind, I can go into a master's and do more research based, or I can go into industry. So I had more options. And I know like it's a very difficult decision to make at a 17 and 18-year-old. That was difficult. But yeah, that's kind of how I went about choosing nanotechnology specifically.
That's such a cool story, Sarah, that, not, and this is so relatable for the folks that are joining us today. Just the fact that it's not like you knew since grade 8 that you were going to be in engineering. No. It kind of came up within your final years of high school, which I think is a really, positive message to be sharing there, and the value of the fact that you went to an event and you got to engage with people and learn more about the program. So it seems like nanotechnology is definitely kind of the mixture of the various disciplines as you're highlighting, right? It's a pretty well-rounded program. So very, very cool. We definitely want to speak so highly about our nanotechnology engineering program. It's not a program that everybody thinks about when they think about engineering. So we're thankful you're in engineering in the nanotechnology program. So Sarah, you mentioned a bit about co-op being that driving factor. So how can you describe, your overall co-op experiences so far? Do you want to share a couple examples of where you've worked? I know you've got a couple more co-op placements to go before you do graduate, but yeah, let's talk about co-op for a second.
So my co-op term have been completely different. I've mostly been focusing on industry though. And my first co-op term was actually at a company called Fibertech Optica, and I was a research and developer there. And that was a very interesting and fun co-op. I got to design assemblies for fiber optic cables based off of customer requirements. In that case, it really taught me how to use my design ideas, all my ideas, and implement it into the specific requirement. And my second co-op term was at a company called Engineering CPR. I was a design and manufacturing support technician. For that co-op term, it wasn't exactly what I wanted, but I got to learn more about the background behind medical device building medical devices. For example, quality assurance, the regulations that go into play, component integrity, all of those communications with suppliers and customers. And it's very interesting, and I'm so glad that I got this type of co-op, because if I want to go if I want to build a startup company in medical devices, I have the background knowledge of what's required, because it's something that's very specific, and it's good to have. My current co-op, it's actually my third and fourth co-op term. I have an 8-month co-op term for that, and I'm an optical algorithms and analytics engineer at Lumentum. And with that co-op, I've mostly been developing my programming skills. Since my previous co-ops, I didn't really focus on programming. In this one, I'm more doing it remotely. I'm also working on analytics for their products. And yeah, so all of them have been different. Yeah.
Sarah, I'm like so impressed. I'm like, you're like halfway through your degree, and I'm like, you've had some really cool co-op positions. I'm like, you've been able to mix and match different skill sets. You worked at different companies. You're working on different, industries, which is nice. And I think that's the benefit, right? Is that you get to trial, you get a sample. Some you might like more than the others, and I think that's part of the journey with the co-op component, is that you may come back. And Sarah, you're going to be in this position for 8 months, correct? The current co-op role that you're in.
Yeah, so I started it in September, and I'm ending in April, and I'll be going back to school.
Perfect. And that's a great comment there, Sarah, is that some of our students do mostly 4-month co-op terms, but some students may also have an opportunity to do an 8-month co-op term here and there, depending on their program, depending on the cohort. So that's pretty cool that you get to expand your time with one company and really grow your skill set that way.
Yeah.
Fabulous. So my next question for you is, but we're shifting gears here, but have there been any on-campus, in-person or virtual resources that you've utilized, as a Waterloo Engineering student in terms of like academic, personal, or co-op support? So what resources have you tapped on during your first half of your undergrad so far?
So for my first half, I've mostly been, in terms of co-op support, I did a few resume critiques, especially in first year. It's a large part of co-op, and we need to make sure I have a strong resume to be able to find the co-op positions I want. And that definitely helped. And other resources is they hold some conferences sometimes, for example, the Nanotechnology Engineering Conference. And that's actually where I first heard of my current co-op position, that company, Lumentum. And I kept it in my mind. So when it came to apply for my third co-op term, I saw that they posted a position, and I thought, yes, I'm going to apply to this. I'm going to write my cover letter. I want to get this position. And that really helped me. And with conferences, it's also biotechnology conference. That was another one that I went to. Other things that are away from co-op support in terms of academic, I really took advantage of the access to the library. For example, we have access to all the journal articles or published work and research and thesis. I really took advantage of that, especially to see, okay, what part of nanotechnology I wanna specialize in, because I have to start specializing in 3B, and that's something that I wanted to look at. I also took advantage of LinkedIn Learning, because as university students, we have free access to that. And with LinkedIn Learning, you have access to so many different courses, from going from art courses like graphic designs to programming to AutoCAD to SolidWorks, and it's a variety of courses. So that's a few things that I really took advantage of as a University of Waterloo student.
Sarah, I think everyone in the audience is taking notes right now, like LinkedIn Learning, library resources, co-op, services with resume critique, conferences you can attend. That's so wonderful, and good for you for taking advantage of those resources. My next question is, how would you describe the Waterloo engineering community, and what's it been like, getting involved? I know you're involved in a couple groups here and there. How would you describe the community to our future students?
So the Waterloo engineering community, well, people think that it would be competitive. It really isn't. I found that there's a lot of support, especially within my own cohort, within the engineering ambassador groups as well, even different teams. Some things that I've been involved in, I was also involved in art club, because I like to do art as a hobby. I draw, and I found a very nice community there. Also, I met a lot of people, a lot of friends who are within my program, and we support each other, but we also challenge each other to do better. And
that's amazing. Yeah. That's so great to share and to hear, because you're right. There's this misconception that our programs are so competitive, and that there's no strong community, but every student I've connected with is constantly telling me about they love their cohort, they love the students, getting involved is so easy. And I love that you joined the art club. I mean, that's so great. You got to mix in different passions and interests outside of the intense work that you do from an engineering or nanotechnology engineering perspective as well. So Sarah, I sadly only have one more question for you today. But I think we've shared lots of great information for our grade 9s, our grade 10s, and our grade 11 students and their families at this virtual open house. But because we have lots of high school students who might be in the earlier years joining us today, what advice would you pass along to these students?
So my first advice is to use high school to really develop your study skills. Because there's a big step between grade 12 and university. And we all know this, but it doesn't mean that it's not doable and that you can excel. You just have to develop proper study skills and figure out what works best for you. And for me, I was in AP classes when I was in high school, so I was able to work with other students, and we all developed proper study skills. And I was okay. I'll just say I was okay in first year university. It's a big step still, and it's a bit confusing, but it was all okay. Another lesson is that it's never too late to create a LinkedIn account, to begin networking, to develop different type of skills. Because even if you don't have a job that you've worked in before, it's okay if you have a LinkedIn account just for your education, or if you have a certain project that you've worked on, add it in there. It's all helpful, especially for first year. And the last thing is enjoy your high school years. That's something. Try to join clubs, make friends. You'll bring that over to to university. And it's just the way, like, you get a lot of experiences this way, and it's memorable experiences.
I gotta give you a round of applause here, Sarah. I'm like, that's for terrific advice. I love that. I love that you're just, ending your note in your special words of wisdom here to enjoy it as well, right? Often we stress so much about the next steps that we don't think about the opportunities that do exist in front of us. And by embracing the opportunities that do exist in high school, as you're sharing, will also translate to the success that students will have when they come to university. So on that note, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We wish we could spend even more time with you. A big thank you to our special guest, Sarah, here in 2B Nanotechnology. You can find her on her co-op tour, which is super great. And because she's an ambassador, we'll share some ways that you can continue to connect with her. But thank you for joining us. And once again, feel free to email us at enginfo@uwaterloo.ca for any additional questions. On that note, we will say our goodbyes, and we wish you a successful day at the March Virtual Open House. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.